We have Kate. Okay, so Kate's son is grieving over the breakup of her 10-year relationship and misses his stepdad, who moved on with another relationship very quickly. So let's have a look and see who we've got. So we've got Kate as a life code 3. We have, interesting, Lonely Wolf as a life code 7. And we have the son as a life code, whoops, he nearly fell over, as a life code 9. Okay, so as I say, we've got 3 different dynamics, which will be really quite interesting, and we'll have a look as to why Lonely Wolf is really Lonely Wolf.
Welcome to the Sensitive Mind Show.
Your purpose in life as a sensitive is to experience the deeper parts of the mind, to move beyond fear and to manage your energy, no matter the circumstance. I'm going to show you, as a sensitive, how you can maximise your talents and feel comfortable in your own skin. For show notes and to join the conversation, visit heidisawyer.com/mind.
Let's see what Kate has to tell us about this situation. Okay, so I've had a 10-year relationship and we broke up in January. The breakup was my choice. He was not the father of my children, and as the years passed by, he treated them without respect, and I decided to end the relationship. Right after the end, he started a new relationship. My son was heartbroken about this. He said it's as if nothing had happened. So my ex hoped that I could cherish all the happy years that we've had. Okay, so what's the problem the situation creates? My son has a chronic illness. His stepdad tried to deal with this situation, but since the breakup, he moved on and never asked about his well-being again. For myself, I know that our relationship was based on codependence. I went through deep grief, but my son is still very angry. So the question is, does he care about my children, or was it one big farce? And how can I help my son get over his anger? So Kate wants to figure out the best way she can help her son deal with the end of this relationship and his feelings of anger as far as that's concerned. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we have a life code 3, we have a life code 7, and we have a life code 5. Kate obviously is the one who's wanting to understand this dynamic because she's pretty much moved on, but then she's got this dynamic going on between a life code 9 and a life code 7. Okay, so why has the life code 3 been able to move on from this situation with the life code 7? Well, once life code 3s have had enough, okay, once they've had enough of something, it takes them a long time to have enough of something, but once they've had enough, they've let go, okay, and there tends to be quite a strong severance as far as a life code 3 is concerned. Why? Well, because life code 3s are extremely patient. Their whole life is about patience, it's about steadiness and waiting, and then waiting to take action. But so part of that means that they do have a strong level of patience. But the thing is, when that patience has run out, it's really run out. So I suspect when we look into this, we will see that that's very true. Now, with the life code 7, life code 7s are very emotional. They may not show it in their external world, but they are very emotional on the inside. So you tend to get for female life code 7s, they tend to be a little bit more in the space of really understanding how their emotions work. But for quite a few men who are life code 7s, they are more emotional than they let on. And they try to hide it, or they try and cover it up in really quite elaborate ways. So it will be interesting to see in this dilemma whether that is the case, whether this is a case of a male life code 7 trying to hide his emotions, which is quite often the case as far as a male life code 7 is concerned. Now, you should usually have quite a good communication scenario between a life code 3 and a life code 7 as far as relationships are concerned, there's usually really quite a good balance of communication. Why? Well, that's because life code 7s are very much based in their emotions, and life code 3 is the female frequency, the female vibration, so it tends to be a little bit more understanding of emotions or emotional dynamics, and more intuitive as far as those emotional dynamics are concerned. So often you would have a good emotional connection between a life code 3 and a life code 7. But if you have a life code 7 as an example, who is unaware, doesn't want to really be aware, and certainly is in denial of their own feelings, then quite often you will have bitterness directed towards the life code 3 if they have decided that that's the end of the relationship. So if the life code 3 decided to end the relationship, so you tend to get this sort of bitterness that the life code 7 feels, but they don't necessarily express, because they don't want to honour the fact that that life code 3 meant more than they want to communicate. Okay, so we'll see whether that dynamic is true. Now, what do we have here between a life code 7 and a life code 9? I would say that this is really the dynamic that we're looking at in this particular situation. So what does that mean? Well, if you look between a life code 9 and a life code 7, these two vibrations are quite close together. Okay, so there's only one path really that separates the two, which is the 28th path. Okay, so it's how the subconscious links to the emotions. Okay, so the life code 9 is the subconscious and the life code 7 is the emotions. So the 28th path is how does the subconscious link to the emotions? Well, in this dynamic, we can see immediately that the life code 7 is in denial of their own emotions. Okay, so subconsciously, quite often the life code 7, if it's directed towards the life code 9, will direct their unexpressed emotion, which is, I don't want to feel, so therefore I will just shut off from that very existence. Okay, so this will be why around a life code 7, it's quite often the case that they will then, if it's an ending of a relationship, they will cut them off. Okay, so the life code 7 will cut them off in order to stop themselves from feeling. Okay, now with the life code 9 towards the life code 7, the life code 9, because they are the subconscious, they often get blamed for things. Okay, so with the life code 9 and life code 7 relationship, it's very easy for the life code 9 to feel blamed. And so therefore, they will feel an intensity of emotion, an intensity of anger, particularly because the two life codes are linked with that 28th path. Okay, so that will be why that this son in this situation, his stepson, feels strongly that he's upset and that he wants some kind of line of communication as far as this is concerned, which this life code 7, who's run away from his feelings, doesn't want to actually acknowledge or solve, so he's gone running to another situation in order to alleviate those emotions that he doesn't want to process, is my guess. But it'd be interesting to see how that pans out as we start to look at it as far as the archetypes are concerned. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have a look at Kate. Okay, so let's have a look first to see if there is anything that Kate needs to perhaps identify in her own world first, before, as far as this end of this relationship is concerned, before she even, tries to address the fact that her son is angry about it. Okay, so let's have a look. I've got a huge pile here of archetypes. Have them upside down, and let's see what we pick out. Okay, so I'm thinking of Kate. Let's have a little look. Okay, so we have the pioneer as far as Kate is concerned. So I would, as we have that straight away, I would be looking at it from the basis of that, yes, Kate has actually successfully let go of this relationship. It's not something that she says is productive or wants to go back to or continue with. That she wants to take this as a new direction. Now, she mentioned that she felt that their relationship was very codependent. So this gives a very clear indication that actually Kate wants to heal her dynamic with codependence. Therefore, that is why she's chosen a different path and given up this relationship. Because it will be that, yes, it is true, she does recognise it was codependent, and that actually Lonely Wolf wasn't really going to change anything as far as that's concerned. So, actually, Kate is set aside from this dynamic of what's going on. So it is particularly something to solve as far as the sun is concerned. Okay, so let's have a look. I think we'll have a look first at Lonely Wolf to see what he's up to. Okay, in terms of what he feels about this whole situation. Confirm whether I'm right or not. In how he would view it as a life code 7. So let's have a look. Again, I've got this huge pile here. Okay, so I'm thinking of Lonely Wolf, and let's see what we have that comes out. Okay, so we have the monk / nun, which pretty much says exactly what I said, which is that he's a monk or a nun. Or what is the symbolism of the monk and the nun? Well, the symbolism of that is they kind of go into themselves in terms of reflection, and a monk or a nun, if they've got an issue with something, it's kind of seen symbolically that they would solve that situation themselves. They would be exactly that, the lonely wolf in solving that scenario, solving that situation. So, these are real people. Okay, these are real people. All of these dilemmas are real people. I don't make them up at all, and I don't give them these particular names. These are the names of people who choose this. So, Lonely Wolf is actually, I would say, Kate's correct view or correct observation of how her ex sorts things or doesn't sort things in his life, and that would match very strongly with his life code as a life code 7. So he's gone in on himself, doesn't want to deal with it, hasn't processed the emotions over it. Okay, so let's see what's going on as far as the sun is concerned. Okay, so thinking of the sun, and let's see what we get. Okay, so we have the liberator. Now, this is interesting. So what does that mean? Well, in this scenario, it absolutely means that the sun has to let go of considering it to be his fault. Okay, so at the moment, the sun is carrying some kind of feeling of responsibility for the end of this relationship. And I suspect that the reason that he thinks he should be carrying that is because of the chronic illness. And he will think that somehow or another the chronic illness has impacted this dynamic and impacted this relationship, when clearly it really hasn't. But he's taken on the responsibility of that, and he'll be angry at Lonely Wolf for the fact that he feels somehow or another responsible for this breakup, and that the reason for that breakup isn't good, that he would then shut him off because he suffers this from this chronic illness. That's what he thinks. Okay, that's what I strongly suspect is what's going on for the sun as that life code 9. Now, he may not be fully conscious of that. Why? Of course, because he is a life code 9, so he reflects the unconscious. So that unconsciously, that will be what's going on. So how can Kate help her son? Well, it's about and I'm sure she's probably approached this many times, but it's actually maybe refreshing or going back to actually having that line of communication with her son, that actually the reason that he has a chronic illness is that he just simply has that. He just simply has a chronic illness. It's not his fault, and it's certainly not his fault that there are endings to emotional dynamics as far as his mother is concerned, and that actually the reason for the end of the relationship was completely correct as far as Kate was concerned, because her vibration has changed considerably. It doesn't match a man who won't communicate. Simple as that. And so the reason that Lonely Wolf and the stepson don't get on anymore, or he doesn't communicate with him, because it means that Lonely Wolf is going to have to communicate some honesty, and Lonely Wolf would rather disappear than actually do that. And it's kind of, I would say, kind of, but I wouldn't say it was fully conscious, but I would say it's kind of Lonely Wolf's punishment. Okay, so to punish Kate for having let the relationship go because she knew it wasn't right, he's punishing her through ignoring her son. Now, should anything be done as far as that's concerned? Well, in some situations and sometimes in life, actually, the freedom is giving up the sense of responsibility for somebody else. And it doesn't mean giving up that sense of responsibility for somebody else as in anything that's mean. It means that forgiving the emotion. Okay, so sometimes it's a case of forgiving the emotion. So Kate's son would do well to liberate himself of his anger by forgiving himself for carrying a chronic illness and believing at some deep level that somehow or another, because of that, the relationship between his mother and Lonely Wolf broke. When in actual fact, the truth is that it broke up because Kate had moved on. She'd moved on into a bigger space within herself that says, actually, I need a partner who communicates openly. So what can you learn from that? Sometimes in life, it is about letting go and moving on and accepting that actually not every time and not all the time do we have to change or need somebody else to change. So in actual fact, the son and Kate are fine just the way they are, and that Lonely Wolf doesn't want to be fixed, and sometimes in life that's exactly the right thing to do. But I suspect that Kate and son will feel much better about this situation over a very short period of time, and Lonely Wolf will carry this for a very long time because he's never owned the feelings. And sometimes actually allowing ourselves to own our own feelings and grieve properly means that we can move on to a new sense of our own personal freedom and let people who need to want to stay the same do their own thing. But it doesn't mean to say that you've been cast aside or forgotten. So that's the end of this episode of the Sensitive Mind Show. If you've enjoyed it and you found it helpful, do share it with your friends, and be sure to join me for next week, where I look forward to giving you an alternative perspective on your relationship dilemmas. Bye for now, and let me leave you with this.
For more great free content designed to support your purchase of my book, Highly Intuitive People, 7 Right Brain Traits to Change the Lives of Intuitive Sensitive People, please visit finallyfeelunderstood.com. There you can subscribe and download for free the meditations specific to today's episode. If you have already read the book, then it's time for you to receive exclusive access and support from me and your fellow intuitive sensitives as we go deeper together along this proven 7-step path by joining us in my monthly membership program called Heidi's Circle. There you can ask me anything in a safe and private environment, and I will answer you live. Join us today by visiting healmyinnerworld.com.